Hi, this is Les and Amy from the RevGenetics Podcast. You can listen to the podcast on YouTube and now on Spotify, where we do a deep dive on supplements and longevity studies.
And today we're doing a really necessary deep dive. It's into one of the most frustrating parts of personal health, really, gut supplements.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there. You see someone get these amazing results from a certain fiber or probiotic, and you try the exact same thing.
And nothing. Crickets. You feel absolutely no change.
It just leads to so much confusion.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to dig into some really fascinating new research. It's from Utrecht University, and they tackle this problem head on.
Right. They looked at three really popular nutraceuticals. There's Inulin, which is a prebiotic fiber you see everywhere.
Yeah, very common.
Then resistant dextrin, another fiber, and Spermidine, which, gets a lot of attention for its anti-aging benefits.
And the big question they wanted to answer is, why are these things so incredibly hit or miss?
Exactly. And to even start answering that, we have to talk about the main player here, which is the gut microbiome.
Which is more than just digestion, right?
Oh, way more. It's an entire ecosystem. I mean, think about it. A huge community of trillions of microorganisms, mostly good bacteria, living inside all of us.
And they're essential for, what, everything?
Pretty much. Breaking down food, sure, but also regulating your immune system, and we're finding out more and more, even impacting mood and brain health.
Okay, so that's the challenge.
Yeah.
How do you study something that complex? It seems like the biggest hurdle for scientists has been just trying to figure out how a supplement interacts with this, massive personalized ecosystem inside of us.
It's been almost impossible. You can't really monitor it accurately inside a living person. Plus, and this is the real kicker, many of the most important gut bacteria are what's called obligate anaerobes.
Which is just a sciencey way of saying.
They die instantly if you expose them to oxygen, like in a normal lab dish.
So your standard Petri dish science just doesn't work for this?
It fails completely. And that's why this new study is so groundbreaking. They used a cutting-edge lab-based tool. It's called Gut3 Gel Gradient Colonic, or G3GC.
G3GC. Okay, so this isn't just a fancy dish.
No, not at all. It's some seriously clever engineering.
So tell me about this mini gut then. It sounds like sci-fi, but it sounds like it's the key to figuring out this whole variability problem.
It really is. The G3GC is a highly specialized hydrogel. Think of it like a 3D scaffolding that acts as a perfect replica of the human gut lining.
So it mimics the mucus layer in our colon.
Perfectly. It mimics the chemistry, the thickness, everything.
Why is getting that environment just right so important for this kind of research?
Because the secret is the low oxygen conditions it creates. That's what's essential for keeping all those sensitive, diverse bacteria alive and well.
So you can actually keep them alive outside the body.
Exactly. So the researchers could take bacterial communities from different people, put them in this perfect little mini gut world, add the supplements, and then just watch what happened.
And without all the messy stuff like diet and lifestyle getting in the way.
Right. So instead of just guessing, they could see exactly what works and for whom. Which sets up the big question, Does the bacteria's initial starting lineup decide the outcome?
That's the whole ball game.
Precisely. The whole point was to get rid of all the other variables.
Okay, let's unpack this then.
Yeah.
Because this is the core finding, and it really confirms what a lot of us have suspected about needing personalization.
It really does.
The biggest discovery wasn't just about what the supplements did. It was about how wildly different the results were depending on whose sample it was.
That is the headline, 100%. The study showed just enormous differences in the bacteria that people started with.
The biodiversity, the amounts of different species.
Everything. We can go back to that football team analogy. Imagine your gut microbiome is a team. Well, everyone starts the season with a completely different starting lineup of players, the bacteria.
And this study confirmed that original lineup is the main thing, the dominant factor in how your gut responds to a new coach, which is the supplement.
That's it. This inter-individual variation was just massive.
So if I can just boil this down for you listening. If my gut already have a lot of the little guys that are good at eating a certain fiber,
then that supplement will probably be a huge win for you.
But if I don't have those microbes to begin with, the supplement could just, pass right through, do nothing.
It could be useless or even cause you some discomfort. And that right there is the critical implication. This explains why one-size-fits-all supplements fail so often in big clinical trials.
It just screams that we need personalization.
Urgently.
Okay, before we dig into the specific supplements, I have a question. This G3GC model sounds amazing for controlling variables, but a real gut has immune cells. muscle contractions,
Peristaltic movement, yeah.
and that whole gut-brain feedback loop.
Hmm?
How sure can we be that these lab results really mirror what happens inside a living, breathing person?
That's a really important question, and you're right, no lab model is perfect. But our confidence here comes from two things. First, it keeps the anaerobic bacteria alive, which other models just couldn't do.
Okay.
And second, and this is crucial, the effects they saw with a supplement like Inulin in the mini gut were perfectly consistent with results from actual human clinical trials.
So the model is validated. It's predictive.
Exactly. It's a powerful tool for figuring out how things work, even if the size of the effect might be a little different in a person.
That makes sense. Okay, so we've established the starting lineup is everything. Now let's see which players showed up when they introduced the 3 different coaches. Let's start with Inulin.
So Inulin, which is that common prebiotic fiber from chicory root, it acted like a very, very specific fertilizer.
Okay, a fertilizer for what? Which bacteria loved it?
It caused a huge increase in bifidobacterium and lactobacillus. These are, the real powerhouses. They're widely known for producing short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs.
We hear about SCFAs constantly. But just as a refresher, why are these compounds like butyrate so important?
SCFAs are basically the main currency of gut health. When bacteria ferment fiber, they create these compounds. Butyrate, especially, is the #1 energy source for the cells that line your colon.
So without it, those cells are in trouble.
They essentially starve, which can lead to a leaky gut. On top of that, SCFAs have anti-inflammatory effects all over the body. They influence blood sugar, immune function, almost everything.
So boosting bifidobacterium and lactobacillus has this massive downstream benefit. It's not just more bacteria, it's more of the right bacteria making the right stuff.
That's it, exactly. And another key thing happened with Inulin. The whole process of fermentation actually lowered the overall acidity, the pH of the environment in the mini gut.
And what did that change in acidity do?
Well, this newly acidic environment became pretty inhospitable for a different type of bacteria called Veillonella, so their numbers dropped quite a bit.
So the good guys got so successful that their byproducts actually changed the neighborhood and kicked out some of the other residents?
It's called competitive exclusion. The beneficial strains basically win the turf war inside the colon.
It's like ecological warfare in a test tube. That's amazing. Okay, let's talk about spermidine. It's usually talked about for anti-aging, for cellular cleanup. Did it also have such a precise effect on the gut bacteria?
It did, yeah. Just as precise, actually. It significantly decreased one specific type of bacteria called leuconostoc.
And leuconostoc is part of a much bigger group, right?
A very important group called firmicutes.
So why is it a big deal to target the firmicutes group?
Well, this is a major insight. In metabolic health, scientists often look at the ratio between 2 big bacterial groups, firmicutes and bacteroidetes. An unhealthy ratio, usually too many firmicutes, has been linked to issues with weight and metabolism.
Okay.
So spermidine's ability to knock down this specific firmicutes member, leuconostoc, it supports the idea that it helps shift that overall balance in a good direction. The benefits might be starting right there in the gut.
It's just incredible how these compounds can target such specific species. It really points toward a future of super precise nutraceuticals.
It absolutely highlights the level of detail we can now see with this kind of model.
RevGenetics makes it possible for us to bring you these insights.
Understanding your unique needs is the first step toward optimizing your health journey.
Okay, finally, let's look at that third supplement, resistant dextrin. Did that fiber have any noticeable effect in the mini-gut?
Surprisingly, no. Resistant dextrin, which is often expected to give a boost to a bug called Parabacteroides distassonis, showed no significant effect in this experiment.
No effect at all.
None. But that non-result is actually a really valuable finding in itself because it points to a major challenge in this kind of research.
So why didn't it work? What did the researchers think happened?
Their hypothesis is that the problem wasn't the supplement, it was the starting sample. They had to use frozen patient samples for this study. And they think that the specific Parabacteroides bacteria might have been less viable, less robust or alive, after being frozen and thawed, compared to something like bifidobacterium.
So the takeaway there is that the most perfectly designed supplement in the world won't work if the microbe it's supposed to feed is already, sick or dormant.
That's a great way to put it. You have to be healthy enough for the supplement to even have a target to engage with. If the bacterial player you want to boost isn't in good enough shape to compete, the supplement is useless.
This research really shows the value of having a model like G3GC. By truly mimicking the gut's physical reality, scientists can see these hyper-specific changes down to a single type of bacteria.
Things that were just impossible to observe before. And because the model is validated, because it mirrors what we see in human trials for things like Inulin and Spermidine, we now have a tool to untangle how these things really work.
Which is almost impossible to see in a person, with all the other factors like diet and stress.
Too many confounding variables.
So the overwhelming takeaway for you listening is just the massive, massive variability between people. It means that to really optimize your health with these supplements, the future is absolutely in knowing your unique bacterial starting lineup first.
Personalized treatment, guided by testing, is really becoming the only path that makes sense.
And before we close out, there was one more fascinating detail about spermidine.
Oh, right. The study also found that spermidine actually changed the physical properties of the gel itself, a mucus mimic.
Wait, not a nutritional effect, but a physical one.
A physical one. It changed the gel, which raises this really profound question. Are supplements just feeding bacteria, or are they actually changing the physical landscape of your gut?
Whoa!
I mean, by changing the thickness or the structure of the mucosal layer, a supplement could be making it easier or harder for different types of bacteria to even grab a foothold and thrive. It adds a whole new physical layer to this.
We hope you enjoyed today's podcast on the latest research into food supplements and your gut bacteria. It's amazing to see how much our personal bacterial starting lineup determines what actually works for us.
Thank you for listening to the RevGenetics Podcast.
RevGenetics.com for the best longevity supplements on Earth.